And we are back.
Yeah, so the smoothing blades is like, you know, it really is a huge game changer for a lot of people that are just starting out too, like because it does help. It's going to help a lot of beginners out. But if they don't know how to use all the other tools, they're going to be hurting for, like you get stuck on a job somewhere and like, hey, how do I actually do this, But
Well, I resonate with that because I'm just kind of learning it all too, right? Like realistically, I've only had them in my hand about a year and a bit, maybe a year and a half. So when they sent me the tomahawks, I had a 4 foot, but it was too big. Now
yeah,
that I've had them all, right? Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
yeah,
That 32 to me that's where it's at. But oh yeah, as a guy that's not got a whole ton of experience, those smoothing blades or skimming blades are amazing.
yeah,
Because when I've got a knife that's over 12 inches or so, my hand's big enough, but I mean that knife's doing whatever it wants, especially if it's flexible, you're cutting in, you're doing all that kind of stuff. At least with the skimming blades, it's a consistent pressure. And I think that's a big help for skimming, like we talked about before, right? If you're using it for other stuff, it's not what it's used for.
Well, I feel like the skimming blades themselves are anything over you don't need nothing over 32 inches. You really don't.
No,
I had the big 48 one, different ones. Like I never ever going to use it.
no,
It's sitting in my garage, and
it's
I
so
use it one time.
specific. Yeah.
It gives like a lot. It does kind of like it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. 32 is good. So like how I found out how these knives worked was like when I went to Advanced Equipment, they gave me a bunch of offset knives. And I was like, I'm not going to use these. And so I was doing a patch job. And it was like, hey, it's not bad. It kind of reminds me of my Burrow Expert.
Right.
And so what I did was I went back to the shop and I took one and I made a radius on one. And it's like, that was the first radius knife. It was like, now it's not going to cut my fiber fuse. I'm going to use it to take place of this.
Right.
Right. So that's why I made this knife here. And then I used it on a butt. Then I used it on a corner bead. And I used it here. I was like, there's no stopping. This knife
Yeah.
does everything. No way it balances. If you have this knife in your hand, it's going to be on every one of your jobs.
That's what I want to get for doing the fresco. I looked at pool trowels today, but I think that offset knife's the way to do it.
Yeah. So I made this knife here. This is the 8-inch. We don't
Okay.
sell this, but
Yeah.
I made this for my Frisco Harmony. I did. It's on my walls here. If you can see the blue up there. I don't know if I can show you that.
Oh yeah. I've seen it before. Yeah.
So my wife wanted more patterns, and so I made a smaller one so I'd get more more shapes out of it.
That's what
More.
I've done. I've got an 8-inch. It might be a 9-inch. It's a level 5 full tang knife, and that's what I've used for the base coat twice now. And you do leave those high points way more when you're using a knife.
Yeah,
That's what I find anyway.
yeah. So that's what I made, and now I use it for my corner bead and all kinds
Mm-hmm.
of stuff. I set one of these knives out, and I was telling Brad Hanna about because he doesn't like trailing behind the box, right?
No,
He
no.
doesn't like it, and it's like it ruins the mud. It's like, well, he's right and he's wrong,
Well,
right?
he is so dialed in. It's almost unbelievable though. Like his process is so clean at the end of the day because everything's so straight. The humps are all on top of each other. Like he really does have his method that works. It's hard for when same with you. You're so efficient and you've got your method. It's hard to say it's the right one, but it's easy to say that it works. If
Right.
that makes sense.
Well, my thing with him is like I would agree with him because 90% of the people, or probably 99% of the people, because they didn't have these knives,
Yeah.
are pulling the mud off, and
Yeah.
even with the smoothing blade, and I'm not, So as I'm going along, because mine is totally flat, this is just like tracing behind the box. I'd much rather trace it with this than the box because it's more weight.
Right.
So he's the people that say shouldn't trace behind the box or travel or smooth or whatever. They're right, but if you had this knife, you would say something different.
Be
And
different.
now, and so I put this in his hand, this knife in his hand, and then he knows. Now he knows, right?
Didn't he
So
have it for a long time too before he used it? And then he was like, oh, fucking, this works really good.
no, he used it for I gave it to him. He used it for about 2 years
Oh, really?
before he did a review,
That's what it was. That's what it was.
which was good. You don't see people like that, like right away. Like I talked to some people about making a bead of mud. Have you seen other girls putting beads of mud on the wall and wiping it?
Yep.
I've showed them that, and they do it right away. And like, hey, this is not good or this is good. Use it. Get
Oh
used
yeah,
to it,
do it. Do it for 6 months
right?
and then talk
Yeah,
about it. Yeah.
yeah. You can't compare it. And they right away, the one girl compared it to rolling. It's like it doesn't compare at all. When you're running a bead of mud for skimming a whole wall out, you only use the tube and a knife, right?
Right.
So you're zigzagging down the wall, put the tube away, and then you wipe it with your knife, and you're done. You don't have a frame, a roller, a tray, or bucket, this and
Yeah.
that, all this stuff to roll mud on the wall, right? So I did the radius knife, and this was the first one I made, and then I put it on the trail knife. Then I put the handle on it. It's like there's something special. Those knives are nice. I'll see if I can get some sent out to you.
Oh, I would like that very much.
So after we did that, I did this. I did this. I wanted a knife when you talk about three ways for picking three ways.
Hmm.
So I sent this to my test team, and so my test team is
Okay,
making
so
it.
when you pull out a new knife, I'm just going to kind of explain what it looks like because I think people that are on Spotify and that are going to get lost. So this is basically an angle knife. It's not quite a flusher on a stick. It's a little bit wider. What would you say that is, 4 inches either side?
Well, so yeah, it's about 4 inches. I don't have my
Yeah.
tape
Okay.
measure with me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what
Oh
I did
no, it doesn't.
was I changed the angle, made a radius, did a bunch of stuff to this knife because I said to the women, I want them to have the flexibility of it. You can't do
Right.
that with a regular one. You can't flex it. So it gives you, I call this the eagle wing. And so you can't flex it. So this knife works for use it for picking three ways
Totally.
or just doing um sometimes where a flusher can't get because you have a short door jamb or a window up high where the corner stops, the flusher would tip in. So I use this quite a bit
Right.
for those kind of jobs.
Because
And
it's
so
flexible enough to get in there. Is that the
yeah,
idea? Yeah. Okay.
yeah. Every house you go to, you have a hallway and you have all these little door jambs.
Always
Yep.
something. Yeah.
A small 2.5 inch flusher can't get in there because it hits the edge,
Right.
right? So this knife is a really really nice knife. And it's popular. I know every time I go to the plant, there's boxes of them being made. So
Yeah.
and I made this little flusher, and people are like, oh, it's not a $400 flusher. And it's a flusher to go behind your banjo,
Right.
just to set the tape. It's not really go around the flush. You can, but when I made this, it's just for like some stores, box stores sell the banjo,
Yeah.
and
With
I'm
nothing.
giving them the opportunity to actually flush it without buying an expensive one.
Yeah,
And that's just
and that's just a flusher on a handle basically, but it's not obviously not built to like a super flusher, but it's a basic flusher.
yeah,
It's got the guides on it. Yeah, that's very
it,
neat.
it works. It works well. Some people will be like, "Hey, don't buy that. It's junk." But it's not junk if you know how to use it.
Well, and it's better than nothing, right? Like if you're
Yeah,
if you're in Home Depot or wherever buying a banjo, you're not in CSR that's got every other tool under the sun. There has to be something in there. Yeah.
right. So speaking of that, where's my banjo?
Yeah, to your left there,
There it is, shining. How do you
on
like
your
my
left.
wall?
Dude, that's so cool. So the last time we talked, none of that was there. So I've been kind of like looking at it.
This is my banjo, and so like I wanted to make a whole new banjo. This is
Right.
how I got into advanced equipment. They wanted this. They wanted something with wheels, and so like I'm an old time banjo user. I pull and slap, right?
Yeah.
I don't roll, but a lot of the newer people do, right? So I designed this. I got a patent on this, so the function
Okay.
of how this works. So you might have seen like other banjos. You have a tool, you flip it in there, put it back on, or little pieces. I made this so there's no tools needed. So you push this in, drops down,
Yeah.
then it locks in, and then you have a lock here, and it's locked in tight for doing your angles.
Simple enough.
The wheel itself has got a patent on it, where it's got
Yeah.
leaves mud on it on the tape because you don't want to wipe dry tape,
Yeah.
and it's got a radius so it doesn't cut fiber fuse, right? And then I want to put it away. You unlock it here, push it in, drop it in, and it's one
Super,
hand.
Super
right?
basic. Yeah.
All
It's
the,
smooth.
yeah. So when I was in New England, those people that uses the banjo, I didn't like their work because you'd find dry spots and stuff.
Yes.
So even with bazookas, you find dry spots sometimes. So I really didn't like the automatic tools at that time. It was like, well, you know what? It's not. When I got on the engineering side, it's not the taper. It's the machine that they're using. So in here, I designed I call it the belly right here.
Okay. Yeah.
So when the tape is up inside here, all the mud gets pulled. So when you pull on the tape, it forces everything to go forward,
Right.
right? So you don't have dry spots
But if that was
on
flat, you would just be skimming over the mud at the bottom as
what
opposed
happens.
to it.
What happens with the flat bottom on all the banjos, when you pull the tape, it starts to skip at a certain level of the banjo. It starts to skip over the mud. So
Right.
as you, the user, are pulling it, you can feel that there's mud in there, right? You know there's mud in there, and there's mud coming out still, but it's skipping. So you get spots where you have a skip spot on a ceiling, and so
So for anybody that's listening, a banjo is basically, it looks like a little briefcase, and you hold you open it up, you fill it full of mud, you've got your tape there, and when it closes up and you pull that tape, it coats the tape. It's like the very first apply and put to the wall tool. I see that. Yeah,
you see
yeah,
how
yeah.
it pulls the mud through here.
Yep.
So like so
Curved belly design.
how I determined the level of it is like, for that banjo, how high does my belly have to be to always have mud on my tape, right?
Right.
So you can set the banjo, the dial in there for how much mud to come out and stuff, and you really should adjust it for different jobs. But when I start with my banjo, I'll run a little section and I'll wipe it, and then I'll pull the tape off, check it
And
out,
just see.
just to see where I'm at with this drywall, because every house you go to, drywall can be different, and just because you have your setting set doesn't mean you're getting the right amount of mud behind that tape.
Mm-hmm.
So I always check that kind of stuff. So that's the banjo. So we have the banjo. I figured, how about a flusher to go behind it if it gets sold at a store, not like a regular drywall store. This is what I used to use before that.
Oh, this is like a plastic one that
Yeah.
looks like you bought and then you put a nice handle on it.
Well, so this is a hide handle, and I bought this at some, I think it was Ace Distributor wholesale sale. I bought like 6 of these. And
Okay.
so there's little screws, you can take it out. And most of the time I use this for trim techs. So trim techs at the time had niche bead, different kinds of fancy bead. So I would take the scrap piece of it and I'd screw it inside here, and that'd be my cleanup tool,
Oh,
right?
cool. Yeah, okay.
So I always kept this around for that, because you never know when you want to put a scrap piece in for that. But yeah, this worked with fiber fuse really well, right? Which is pretty similar to,
I was gonna say.
yeah, right. So if you look at the angle on this, it's not much there. Look at the angle there, it's not much there. Did the same thing for me. Actually, it's got really good flex.
I've always liked those. It was the same. The corners are always a pain in the ass until the auto tools came out. Well, until I found them, I should say.
but the difference was this thing rotates, right?
Oh,
So
it's much superior. Yeah.
I put it away, right? So going into that, showing the Can-Am, I'll go into the Can-Am right now.
Yeah.
So
Shout out to Can-Am.
I met Can-Am at the Intex Expo 2018.
Wow.
Roughly the time that I was leaving Level 5. So this is what they had on the shelf. This is what they had on the counter. They're yellow, and so it was yellow inside. I painted it green and stuff, but this is a plastic 3D printed one. It's like, he said, they're really good. It's really good with fiber fuse. He goes, and I do a lot of fiber fuse stuff. And so I'll check it out. At the same time, I got this roller here, and it's got these it's got rubber wheels.
Oh, you were showing me this. Yeah.
They were all 4 rubber wheels. And I said, I'll try that out too. He made it for mesh tape, but he said it's good for fiber fuse. And I said, I'll check it out. So I came home from there. Right away I had a job. And and I always have multiple jobs going. I left the job site with my flusher pole at the other job. I'm like, what am I going to do?
Yep.
And so I had this thing here, and so I thought I was like, I'll just try this out. I didn't use this. I took this off. I put on a steel flusher, basically. I like this.
Yep.
I like a 3-inch. I was like, hey, that's not bad, right? And then I put it on one of my poles that I had.
Yep.
But can't really talk about right now. I put
know,
onto a
yeah.
pole, and it worked really, really well. The only difference is it doesn't have the hook.
Right.
So to learn how to use it, it's a little harder because it's not the same motion you have with the hook. You got to actually get up higher and pull it.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, because that hook is an offset. So
Yeah.
if you try and go too high, I understand. Yeah.
So even at the bottom, it's a different feel. And so we talked about it. He did put a hook on one of them. I don't like the hook because it's kind of heavy. It just changes it.
Yep.
So I'm going to try something a little different soon. I just haven't had time to do it yet, but I'm going to try something a little different with it. But yeah, so right away I put this on here onto my poles. I got something here, right? And so I started working with K&M at that point. We did tons of stuff together to where we're at right now. I came home with the compound tube, with this compound tube on there. It's like, I don't like this little ball.
Yeah.
So like what I used was this thing here. So this is better than ever. And you see my tip on that, like,
Oh yeah.
There's no ball. I mean, I would just run beads of mud.
Just a 3/4 bead. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but there was no difference between better than ever and K&M. It's the same. It's the same. It's called a closed nipple 3/8 pipe thread, basically, right?
Okay.
This ball fit right on there. The volume is really, really small. There's not that much mud coming in and out of it, right? So I said, we changed the tube to this ball, the steel ball.
Oh, there you go.
So then I'll start pushing the tube. And so we did. We had a new cone made. This is a prototype right here for the new, what we have now. Right.
Oh,
so
wow. Did you just pop that in and out of there?
That was a different tool that I'm working on.
Okay. Sorry. All right.
The thread, the prototype I had was a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
And what happened was it got locked up inside there. And I wanted the biggest hole size.
Of course. Yeah.
So this really, K&M really has the biggest one, right? For that. And that's how the K&M had the new ball put on there, which is a super nice ball, And if I go back to the years of running this tube here and filling up my boxes, I'll get a box here. It's like, this is a level 5 box. This is the one I converted over for like a little nail spotter. But
you gotta
get that inside here, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Inside. And so the Columbia, there's no problem with the Columbia. The mouth is good size to get it right all the way up inside, right? I love the Columbia mouth on it. And it's like, when I was working with level 5, they'd be like, we can't make it bigger because mud falls out. I said, anybody has mud falling on the box.
Yeah.
It's too wet. It's not right. Right. Mud is not falling out of the box. Right. But basically it's copied from Tape Tech and then whatever, all these other ones, they just get we'll just keep that same design.
Yeah.
My feeling about it is like, if you're making a box and you're making a compound tube, make the box work with the tube. You don't have to have a box filler.
Kind of a no-brainer. Yeah.
Right. So like my whole thing growing up with this tube was making box fillers. So like this was the first one I made.
Yeah. And what is that? Just some PEX that you melted down?
Yeah, just PEX on my brass fittings. So this one fit on my small tube. So this is probably the first one. This one fits on. Look at the size of that hole. And that's a huge.
Oh
that's from the black tube. The black tube. The red tube. See the red tube up there?
Yep.
That is a Red Diamond series. It's got a 3/4 inch hole. So when I'm blasting my mud really fast from the box,
it's coming out of there. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you can't fill a box that fast with that tube. This is 2009, 2010. It's like, like right in there. So I made all these adapters. This was like one of my favorite ones. So I kept this one, and this is now on my auto feed system.
I was going to ask you. Yeah.
we're gonna do a different cast on that one. So yeah, so like, why do I need all these things for? You know, so when I worked with trying to get Columbia to make one, had Level 5 make one. I was like, I don't use a box filler anymore. After I got this ball, right? I don't need any of this stuff anymore. It's obsolete. When I designed a box nest. It's on my station. When the box is here, you're just squirting it in there. It's like right down the line.
Hmm.
There's no really need for a box filler. I made this in 2020 after COVID came through, and this is PEX. And how you do this stuff, it's really simple. You take a heat gun, you heat it up, you push it on the ball, right? And then you put it in water. And once you zap it in water, it holds that position. If you were to reheat this up, it'll go right back to its own position. It'll go back right
Right.
around, right? So you have to cool it down to get it in position. So when you're squeezing it, dip it in water, and then you have the position. And then so when this came out, when I made this in 2020, now basically K&M has one like this one, right?
The
You seen
little
it?
green one, the new one.
Yeah. That's where this came. That's where it came from. So I'm always behind the scenes of everything. You know what I
Which,
mean?
yeah, which fits perfectly on my middle finger. And then Foz took a picture of it, and I was like, I've had a few beers. I should not have put that on the internet. I think I tagged him too because I was just so excited that that I had one in my hand, you know.
Oh, I got one right here. I'll show you this one here. This was my thought of it because I told him after I made it, I don't like it. It doesn't
Yeah.
work. It
Yeah.
moves around and stuff. I don't like it, and frankly I don't need it. But go ahead and make it. I don't care. I don't have any use for it. But what I did do with it is I made a plug out of it.
You
See,
were showing me that. So how did you do that? It's
this
just
this is epoxy.
that's what I
So
thought.
there's mud in here. It just came out the job I'm on right now. There's a wet mud in here,
Yeah. But
and
no air's
so
getting to it. So what does it matter?
right. So
Yeah.
you clean the outside of your tube. You don't need to clean the inside all the time. So it's sealed. You hold it back in, doesn't move.
Yeah.
It's sealed, right? So that's how I do it. My compound tubes. This green one here. This is my special one. This tube has been through a lot of changes. It used to say Can-Am on it, like that, like my other one. Did a lot of changes. I did my cam lock system on it. So
This
this
thing
is
looks like a toy gun you would make as a kid out of a bunch of shit you had in your garage.
yeah.
Except it's like a super tool.
Well, when I started putting the cam lock system on it, it was 2011. Because I used hot mud back when I used hot mud, and I
Yeah.
had to clean it out. Nowadays with fiber fuse, I don't use hot mud. I don't need to clean it out anymore. So I really don't need to take it apart all the time. It's nice to when you want to clean up really
Oh,
nice,
totally. Yeah.
but it's not needed like every job.
They
You
don't
know,
have to.
this comes in, it hangs in my mud room on a hook. So this one's cleaned out all the way. But so what I do is I unscrew this, and this one I lost my O-ring. There's usually an O-ring on here.
Okay.
I've used it for a long time. I unscrew this. This is my handle.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the ball comes off and then the handle comes off.
So now this is my good plug. Now it's plugged.
Right.
And then this thing goes, this is the nest now, so you don't lose it.
Oh, that's wild.
Now it's locked in tight. So and I use this handle. This is a nice tube. It's got a handle. It's got a rubber, half-inch rubber push-down pad. The D handle keeps it from rolling around. I had people give me crap about the D handle for so many years. You know,
Yeah,
it's
but
just
I like that idea
it's a snow
because
handle shovel. You need to be pulling the mud like ergonomic like this. You're not pulling
yeah,
like this. You know what I
yeah.
mean? You need to be pulling like this. I always wanted to make one out of a cane out of my grandma when she passed away.
Oh yeah.
And,
Sorry to hear about that. Yeah.
but I will one day,
Yeah.
right? So that's
Yeah, because
this too,
realistically, when you're pulling, you do want your knuckles flat. You don't want because then you're getting into the weird wrist stuff again.
right? It's
Yeah.
all about ergonomics. And then like when I gave it to level 5, I gave it to Columbia first. They didn't want it, the cam lock system, and I won't get involved in that right now. So I got to level 5. That's what I meant level 5, and they said, "Yeah, we'll do it." Right. So I gave him my tube, that red tube. It went to China never came back, right?
Ah,
So it's like I just got this tube not too long ago from K&M. It's like, thank you, I got my red tube back. So when level 5 copied it, which I let them copy it
yeah.
because I was working with them at the time. This is their tube. I really never really used it very much, but they put this handle on it, and my first handle was basically just like a hammer, end of a hammer. They
Oh,
put
that
it
would be
weight on.
good.
They put weight on here when they went to sell the thing.
What?
The tube is fatter than most tubes, so they had problems with the air. The
Oh,
rod is so heavy
yeah,
that the plastic's nice. You can drop it, hang it. It's
yeah.
not going to dent. It is really nice. But I was really disappointed in it because when I was working with level 5, they're more concentrated on the mud shot than this tube.
Yeah.
And
I
they got
must
all
say
those,
that I really like the see-through tube.
yeah, it's nice. Well, the see-through tube, I had the idea from I wanted to make a cleaning tool back before these came apart. So it's way back
Right.
in time. I made this washing tool that went up inside, and I was talking to Better Than Ever at the time in Canada, and so my flusher thing went inside and it cleaned it, and I was hoping they could do a video showing how I was cleaning it. That's
Mm-hmm.
all I was looking before. And I looked inside there, and my cone was still muddy. So
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
It
So I
cleans
made
the
it. Yeah.
tube, but not the cone.
Yeah. So that's when I made this. I made this one here, and this tube here um, was basically this is the Better Than Ever one. So it's the right size, and I kind of show people and I explain to people how the tube works. It's
Mm-hmm.
like most tubes stop about right here,
Yeah.
right? So I made mine come all the way back to about. I gotta put my screws back in, but it stops right there.
Yeah, where you're like centimeters away from the end. Yeah.
Tons of mud. It holds more mud than a corner box, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, this tube here, this is my prototype show and tell. Basically, if I go to an expo, I can take that with me. But
Well,
the
it's
handles are
nice and short, but you get the idea. Yeah.
right. And the handle is for a reason because you got to push down and pull. And so
Yes.
I use this bucket gasket. All right, the bucket gasket is a silicone,
This thing is so cool. Yeah.
and so
So
that's part of the red diamond series. So
so
when
have
you're
you
running it and you put your cone in there, only that much of your cone is getting dirty.
okay, so for everybody listening, this is basically it just looks like a frisbee. What is it made out of? Like a silicone? Is it flexible?
It's all silicone.
Yeah.
It's thin on the edges, so because all
Yeah.
buckets are different shapes.
So you put that into the bucket and then you stick it's got a hole in the middle and then you stick your compound tube into that hole and start pulling and it sucks the entire mud down equally, right? That's the idea of it. Yeah,
Yep.
and
So
so
it's
it's
always going
cleaning your
down.
bucket while it's taking the mud. I think that is amazing. Is that
It
for
is amazing.
sale? Is that a thing that you can buy?
So this was Better Than Ever. Better Than Ever went out of business. There's a new
Wow.
company a new company bought Better Than Ever, and so I'm trying to get them to make it for the last 3 years now.
That
Right.
thing's dope. I love it.
So when they bought it, the mold was old. It didn't work anymore, so they couldn't just start
Oh,
back up again. So we're gonna get that. We're trying to get it going again. There's a steel ring in here, stainless steel ring, to pull the thing out because sometimes it gets jammed up inside there, right?
yeah.
But I've been using mine since 2009, and it's still good. The
Yeah.
only thing that's bad is this part here. It gets cut out, gets ruined, it gets ripped,
It gets
but it
beat
still
up a
works.
bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
So, but when you're working, you clean the edges a lot most of the time,
Yep.
or when you get halfway down, or whatever, you dump water in there, go home. Next day, you take the water, you dump it out. Your mud's
The
still good.
same,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
So I got this when I was doing go back to my mesh and hot mud process. When you make hot mud, air can't hit that. Air will make the hot mud set faster. Okay.
Hmm.
So if you have mixed up a whole bucket and you're cleaning, you're using the mud up, well, you'll go back to the bucket and it starts to get hard at the top, but the bottom is still good. Like, hey, I can still get underneath there a little bit, get some more of this stuff, right?
But yeah, that's because it's the air's touching it.
Right. So when I put this on there, right, that mud was good the whole time.
Yeah, it slows it
So
way down.
yeah, and so it was good until I could mix the whole bucket, use it up, gonna clean up and mix a whole bucket without wasting anything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So the gasket is a really nice tool. So like when I made my mud pump, which we'll do a show on that sometime, that's sealed as well. It's always sealed.
Right.
So the only thing that is exposed is like a hole like this with an end cap or a cam lock system. So everything, there's no cleaning when you leave the day. You hear people like, hey, you gotta clean that thing up. I was like, no, I don't. Right.
Yeah.
So
It's probably never been cleaned, right? You just keep pumping new mud through it, and that's what effectively cleans it.
yeah.
It's everything you're doing, man, it just seems so efficient. It's almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it's smooth. And you said
Smooth.
that word to me. You said that word to me one day. I was like, I can't
Smooth.
believe you said that. Work
Yeah.
smooth, right? Like, hey, you must have worked really hard today. You got all this work done. It's like, no, we're just
Yeah. Smooth,
right?
smooth is fast.
Well, I really want to talk right now about K&M and the Nightcore kit, because when people talk about the Nightcore, they like, I gotta try Nightcore out. And there's nothing it goes right back to the flusher. It goes right back to this flusher when they talk about Nightcore. And for me, the Nightcore is not about this. It's about all the other stuff it can do.
Right.
So that goes back to this bracket right here. And so I had this bracket designed special for this, because when I was talking to the owner of K&M, this was designed to go on a broomstick.
Okay.
It goes on your broomstick, so any DIY person can use this. Yeah, this is DIY, right? But if you take this and pull this off, basically, right? Put this flusher on.
Yeah.
This is not DIY anymore, right? So you can flush really nice with this. You can pop it off and get into the tight spots, closets, put it back on. And then I go from this pole to bigger poles.
Yeah.
So I'm not popping. You can pop this off, get your hand all muddy, put it on, right? Put it on the one.
Yeah, but why? How much are the handles, right? Just get a bunch of handles.
Exactly. Every tool that I own has this system. So I had a 3D printed nest for like these things here, standing up in my vehicle. They just slide on top. I need this, I need this, I need this.
Yep.
Right. So this thing here, and people don't realize how nice this is for them. So if you can go with one pole, and I use 3 poles, a small, medium, and large. And they don't make this size pole. This is a little mini pole.
I see that.
I've tried getting them to make it, and I think I'm getting close to making it again. This is another size here, so it's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, okay.
So if I stand them up, it's like 3 inches smaller. I like the small ones because it's just like the mini box handle they worked on.
It keeps it nice and tight to the body. Yeah,
I
it's
can
tons of control.
I can still reach a 10-foot ceiling with this.
Same. I didn't since they sent me the shorty box handle. I've only used it once in a year, my bigger one, and it was just because I was getting tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, like having a short pole, I just feel like the controls there. You're not pushing as hard. You're not fighting it all the time. It's I think they're the way to go. Absolutely.
Yeah, the little mini box handle. I do want to go over that in a little bit, but I feel like it's an awesome tool. Everybody should have it.
Yes.
So from this pole, if you have multiple ones of these, maybe 3 of these, put them on your poles. That's all you need. So you go to jobs. This is an inside outside roller from Trimtex. The handle's different because it's part of my prototypes, but it still goes on to the Nightcore. This is the roller, right?
Yep.
The roller on there. Any nail spotter. The nail spotter goes on here.
Yeah, this is wild, man. For everybody that's not. Yeah.
This is my Columbia one. I really like this Columbia one, how this one is built too.
That's
I like
the 2-inch, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I use Blue Line, but when I use a 2-inch, I use my Columbia. Holds a lot of mud.
I love it, and it seems like they nailed the 2-inch.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice tool. I like feathering with this more than my 3-inch because sometimes it's all you need. What's nice about this too, if there's any crap, it just scrapes it off. You know what I mean? When you're doing your feathering.
Yeah, Brad just had that on his stories, and I had no idea that that's what that was for.
Yeah. Well, it's a clicker for your screws.
Yeah. But the little bumps that come out when the mud kind of settles, it'll skim those off too, right?
Yeah, it scrapes them
Yeah.
off. So it works really, really well. But so I had this adapter made. So I only have 2 of these made. So
Okay.
I'm trying to get them to make those. But the adapters were made from like, where's my I don't even know where it's at. My first one I made was from a Trimtex piece, and then Trimtex has a 3/8 thread, so I had to make
Okay.
my own adapters, and this is what I need. So it was like this long. So when I gave it to Wolfgang or K&M, he made this for me. So I
Yeah.
told him, like, we got to put that on the. It's got to be there for people, right? So all your 3-inch nail spotter, 2-inch nail spotter, um, inside roller, outside roller, and
So
then you got your standers, right? I can put my Black Widow on here, a Black Widow sander.
holy shit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I mean, I can take this off and I can sand tight spots.
So
Sometimes,
basically that Nicor kit that comes out, you've got a receiver that goes on the pole, and then you've got the handle, like the what you would call that, the I guess the what holds the applicator, or like what.
yeah, I don't know what they call this part,
Yeah.
but this is the part that I had made for
So
the
but
Nightcore.
does that come with the set?
There's 2 sets, and one of the sets it doesn't. One of the sets is
Okay.
just the flusher and the handle
Yeah.
for the flusher, and it's like that's not what we need more.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working on a pro kit right now. So like this is another thing we made was there's a green one around here somewhere. Do you see it? Oh, here it is.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is the green one that basically this is a 3D printed one, and so we cut it, and I put this adapter on here for me,
Okay.
and that's how this was made,
Right.
right? So because we need it for all our sanders, our rollers, and stuff like that. And then so once you start doing those adapters and stuff, and you can't. What's
Okay,
this one?
so before we take the break here, the basically what he's got for everybody that's not watching it is he's got the end of his pole, and then he's got a bunch of these adapters that come with that Nicor kit, but on every tool he has. So taking it off and putting it back on is super quick, and you just must leave it on everything,
Yeah.
because
So
why wouldn't you? Yeah.
never. So when I'm at a job site, I have a toolbox that's waterproof.
Yes.
And so what you see is like the little ends of the Nicor sticking up out of the water.
Like you're
So
growing them or something out of the water.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you just walk up there, you put your pole in there, and pick it up, and go to work.
Yeah.
You're not cleaning it. The tools clean
Yeah.
themselves
Yes.
when they're in water, and so
But all you're
that's
doing
what
there is just not letting them dry out.
right.
Okay. All right. Let's
That was
take a
my
break there, and then we'll be right back.
okay.